Does it feel like your relationship has gotten more stressful over the last few weeks and the last few months? I have seen this in my work. I've seen the stressors and the SOS calls getting bigger, more frequent, and more loud. And it makes a lot of sense. I know that I have listeners from other parts of the world. I am in the United States, and the majority of my clients are also in the United States. And we are still really in the midst of election and inauguration season and what looks to be a very, very tumultuous next few years. But it's really causing some more tension in couples that I worked with before, in couples that are coming to me for the first time. And it felt important that we take some time to talk about how election season has exacerbated some of the struggles that felt small for people for a while.
You're listening to the Better Relationships After Baby podcast, where I believe things can actually be better than ever after having kids. But it takes intentional conversation, personal growth, and community to get there. I'm Chelsea Skaggs, life and relationship coach, fellow mom and wife, and lover of taboo topics. I'm here to give you insight, practical tools, and conversations to help your relationships survive and thrive through the big changes of parenthood. Let's get into today's episode.
It is all over our social media, our group chats, even at the dinner table. Talk about policies and politics and leaders and people that have titles that make them sound like leaders, but they're not at all leaders. And for a lot of couples, this is bringing up some major friction. So if political talk is getting heated, or maybe you're avoiding it altogether, I want to break down how to navigate this without wrecking your relationship. Political stands and values are very important to me personally. But I'm not here to tell you today how to think and what you should believe and who you should or should not vote for. Although I feel very strongly about who you should not vote for, and if mocking a reporter was not the end of it for you, we're probably not on the same page about this. However, I'm here to talk about your relationship, which is also political, right? Because we have a lot of untapped energy in women and in parents and in women who are primary parents because there is so little support that I truly believe a lot of the best energy in this world is trapped, and that can be when caretaking feels so stressful. I don't know about you. I love being a primary caretaker. I homeschool my children. Some days I love that. Some days I am not so sure. But overall, I'm a big fan of my kids and of being with them. And also, there's a lot of other burning passion inside of me that has to come out, and I will fight for it to have a place and for it to come out. And that is why I get so fired up about households having fair expectations of one another, about communication, being clear and confident, about having a connection in your home that is a safe landing place for you, because we need to tap into our power and our voices. So yeah, I do think marriage and parenthood are extremely political, not even mentioning the amount of policies that impact who we are, who we love, what we stand for, and what we are able to access. But it has come to a new level, I think, for a lot of us. And that new level can mean some discomfort, disconnect in our relationships. When I am speaking about this, I am thinking about the marriage or, parenting together relationship. But I think that some of this will also apply to family members, to friends, to people with whom you are evaluating your relationship because politics has brought a lot up for you. So why this feels so personal is because politics isn't just about policies. It's not just about numbers and departments. It's about values. It's about identity. It's about how we see the world, Specifically in America, I say because this is where the biggest bulk of my life experience has been. 99.9% of my life has been spent in America. And so here, our current politics are very indicative of how we see ourselves and how we see the world and what is important to us. And there seems to be a pretty big divide for a lot of people right now in what our parties stand for and what our candidates stood for and what is permeating our culture. But when you and your partner see things differently, it can feel like a core misalignment. I have had people ask recently, is there a way for us to stay married if we have different political views? We voted for different people. There's not one clear cut answer for that, but it sure is an opportunity to open up some conversation on who you both are, what you both value, and how you see the world, and figuring out if there is space to grow in alignment together. Even if you agree on most things, election years and big turnovers can amplify those little differences. And you have to decide how personal this is and how much weight goes into each piece of the puzzle. But I also encourage you not to try to do that alone. Ideally, doing that alongside your partner and a third party, but definitely doing so alongside your partner. This is not a go off and don't include your partner in these things because they think differently from you. This is a chance to lean in together. Always lean in when it's possible. But there are some common tension patterns that you might find yourself in. So this might be a starting point. What pattern are you in and where can you address change first? The debate partner couple is constantly arguing, trying to win the conversation. There is no end to a conversation until there is a winner. That can be really dangerous because that doesn't make space for people to see things in two different ways. It doesn't make space for conversation. It doesn't make space for figuring out if you are in some ways saying the same thing, but saying it differently, or having the same idea, but it coming out two different ways. There doesn't have to be a winner, but you can both win if you are learning more about each other and about yourselves as you are doing this. So if you are that debate partner couple, maybe try to become the quizzer couple where you are asking questions. Ask instead of argue to win. Maybe you're the avoid at all costs couple where you're silent because any disagreement would lead to a fight. If that's you, it's probably not where you want to stay. I mean, I don't know anybody that wants to not hold these deep conversations and connections with their partner. So this call out is to learn how to disagree. Learn learn what needs to be true for you to have disagreements in a safe space, for it to be safe and welcoming to have different opinions. And what do you need for that conversation to be resolute? And then we have the same page but different approaches couple. And this is the people who agree but have different levels of engagement. Maybe one of you is glued to the news and the other one just doesn't want to hear about it. So again, you get to look at this and say, where do we build teamwork here? Maybe one of you is the one who collects information and passes it on in a condensed version to your partner, and that's a great, efficient practice. Maybe you want to decide what most impacts your family and agree to both make space to research and discuss those things, but maybe you're not going to expect your partner to make space for another issue that isn't as much of a shared value. There has to be an opportunity to say no, and there has to be opportunities to say yes. So when you're getting into these conversations, political differences, here's a couple things to keep in mind to keep that from going into a drag down fight that is not helpful for anyone and just then solidifies the belief that talking about political things is bad. We don't want it to be bad. We want it to be empowering. We want it to be curious. We want it to be chances to learn with and from each other. Okay, so first tip is to know your goal. Are you trying to understand each other or just prove your point or figure out the exact fact on this situation? What is the goal? This has completely different approaches. Number two is set boundaries. So maybe you need to say, I want to hear your thoughts, but can we keep this conversation to 10 minutes so it doesn't spiral? Because I can only be invested for 10 minutes. And if we go spiraling into 3 or 4 other topics, you're going to lose me. And then I'm going to be frustrated. And then it's going to solidify the truth I have in my brain or the thought I have in my brain that I can't open a conversation with you because you will spiral into everything and I will be stuck here for 55 minutes listening to it. So set some boundaries. Try to find where you agree first. This is your third tip. Instead of, I can't believe you would think that, which I know, maybe I've said that before. My best self would say something like, I see where you're coming from, but here's what I struggle with. So finding places to have common ground is always going to be more beneficial than just throwing stones at each other. And then tip 4 is to take breaks. If you are emotionally charged, pause the conversation. Unless you are the person, you and your partner are arguing about whether or not to set off a nuclear bomb or to start a war or to impeach the president, then there's probably not a huge rush for you to get through it in the next 5 minutes. So take a break if you need to so that you can have the conversation in the empowered way that you want. So if politics is exposing some deeper value gaps, then you might be asking yourself something like, what does this mean to me personally? If you're struggling because you feel like you and your partner have different values, it's time to really break those down. Don't talk in policy talk. Don't talk in political talk, but figure out where there are value gaps between you and your partner. And this is where, again, third party can really be helpful. I can help you weed through this and see where those gaps are and help get to the root of it. Is it that you have a very different core belief that if it's not the same, it's going to be really hard for you to exist together? Maybe. Or are you in a place where there are things that are important to you, but they're not the deep level foundational what you want for your family kind of stuff? And maybe that's not as a big deal to you. But talk about those core values rather than just policy. Again, value work is a huge thing I do with my clients. I do this in my longer coaching packages, and I can also do it as like a one-off practice, a values workshop. But we want to really figure out where this takes you. Is it that your foundation is rocky, or is it that, your second floor bathroom looks different? Those are going to be bigger indicators. And I just say this because I don't want this year to be the thing that divides you. But I also know that this is bringing up new things and is making bigger some of the other things that people have been dealing with for years. So start by having one conversation where your goal isn't to agree, but it's just to understand each other. And then maybe you reach out to me and we dig into the work so that you and your partner can understand your disconnect, figure out the gap, and know how to bridge that gap if it's something you want to bridge, or how to respect each other's differences if that is where you want to land.
If you enjoyed this episode, I would be so grateful if you take a minute to help spread the word. As a small business owner, shares and reviews go a long way. So share this episode with a friend, share it on your social media, and please leave a review if you haven't done so. This helps these messages get to more mamas, and you guys, that's how we change the world.